Good morning. It is Wednesday, March the 27th, and this is The Drill. And thank you very much. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States of America today, and because I make the presumption for the status quo, speaking to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers. So this morning, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start off with a little bit of Rush Limbaugh, clip or two. Here we go.
Nancy Pelosi has told Democrats that the new Attorney General, William Barr, cannot be trusted. After just spending 2 years supporting an effort that ripped this nation's heart apart, the Democrats are continuing because, as I pointed out yesterday, they are a bunch of spoiled little children and they just can't accept losing. There never has been any collusion between Trump and the Russians. The drive-by media needs to be begging the forgiveness of everybody they have lied to the past 2 years, but they have no shame. Every aspect of this has been a hoax. And by the way, it's easy for people to say it now when Mueller comes out and admits that he found no evidence of collusion. I have been trying to drill home to people ever since this began that it was a hoax from day one. I mean, you put yourself in Donald Trump's position. You have the entire United States administrative state aligned against you, running a fake, fraudulent, phony investigation designed to kick you out of office after you have legitimately won the presidency. He's right when he says there aren't very many people could put up with this, and we need to take steps to make sure this never happens again. More than 41...
Oops, there we go. Anyway, so that's a couple of samples from Rush Limbaugh, and also what he was saying was about, in regards to, on Monday, about the Mueller report, was that no celebration. It was, he came out explicitly. Not only did he not celebrate this victory, he advised people not to do so, because as far as he was concerned, that this is, again, a hoax from the very beginning, and that it was a waste of time, and it was a waste of resources, and therefore there's nothing to celebrate. I think it's that he's wrong. Matter of fact, I know he's wrong. We need celebrations. Too often, his show, Hannity's show, all the right-wing pundits, they become a grind to listen to. You listen to it every day, and it is a grind, and it is a chore. It becomes more and more of a chore. It wears on the listener, and I'm sure it wears on the performers. I'm sure it wears on Rush. I know I hear Rush on a regular basis say that he's tired of it. I'm tired of having to do this over and over and over again. Well, he doesn't have to. If he was smarter about the issues that he chose to speak about, he wouldn't be tired. Also, if he would celebrate from time to time, celebrate the victories, no matter how small, celebrate. At least, if he can celebrate nothing else, celebrate that it's over. If he doesn't want to look at it as a victory, celebrate the fact that it's over, it's done. We don't have to listen to people going on and on about what Mueller's talking about. I don't have to listen to Sean Hannity anymore about Mueller and what he's on about, and that's fabulous. But I also like the fact that I can go to every socialist in my life that was running around saying, that was aping the people that they see on television and saying, Rush or Donald Trump is going to be impeached, or he is going to be prosecuted, or he is going to, his presidency is going to come to an end. And I can say, stick my tongue out at them, thumb my nose, and tell them how wrong they were. So it's a good thing to do to celebrate. It's an absolutely outstanding thing to do psychologically. You need the victories. Celebrate the damn victories. Otherwise, like I said, it just becomes a grind, a never-ending grind. And I'm just not going to do that. So also, what you have to look at here is, now his claim and the claim of every other pundit I've listened to about the Mueller report is that it's all on the Democrats. These evil Democrats, they're the ones that created this situation, and they're the ones to blame, etc. The Democrats wanted this. Now, they wanted all of this investigation because what they were hoping to do, and another reason to celebrate, by the way, but what they're hoping to do is put enough pressure on Donald Trump to get him to resign. I've heard a lot of pundits that get it wrong, that think that the whole idea behind the investigation was to get enough evidence to impeach Donald Trump. No. It is a psychological game that they're playing. That's all they do. They bluff. They do a damn good job of it, a convincing job of it, but that's what they do. They bluff. They want Republicans and conservatives to destroy themselves. See? Then their hands are clean. It's like the kids that on YouTube and various other places that hound their classmates until their classmates commit suicide. And then the kid thinks, well, my hands are clean. Well, would have been if you hadn't done it, if you hadn't recorded it. And also you have to have a legitimate, there has to be some legitimacy to it, but it's the same basic idea of exercising power. If you go out, it's called using a cat's paw. You don't want to use your own hands, leave your own fingerprints on something something negative that's happened. If your fingerprints are on it, then you have dirty hands, bloody hands. You can't go to cocktail parties with blood on your hands. That's no good. The idea is to get people to destroy themselves, to do something, say something that either gets them to be legitimately prosecuted and imprisoned, or gets them to resign their office. And that's what this whole investigation was ultimately really all about as far as Donald Trump was concerned. Much to his credit, he refused to do it. He refused to resign. The same thing that was going on with Justice Kavanaugh. The whole idea of putting pressure on Kavanaugh was not so that they could have an excuse to vote against him as much as it was to get him to resign. Put enough psychological pressure on Mr. Kavanaugh that he just couldn't stand it anymore, and he withdraws his nomination. Well, not even really resign, but withdraw his candidacy or nomination for the Supreme Court, and then he would go back to being a judge on the circuit court. So that's the deal there. They're trying to put pressure on Donald Trump. Much to Donald Trump's credit, he didn't. He didn't fold. Now, not to his credit, and again, most of the time when the Democrats are up to something, the idea is to get the Republicans to do their dirty work for them. That's where your cat's paw comes in. And this is a case where the Republicans did exactly that, particularly Donald Trump. This whole Mueller investigation ultimately is Donald Trump's fault. President Trump blew it. He comes into office within a month. They're talking about putting in and installing a special prosecutor. He went ahead and nominated and got confirmed Jeff Sessions as his Attorney General, who promptly stepped out of the process, recused himself, and left the president flapping in the breeze. And the president had to wait for 2 years before finally Sessions would step down or resign. It didn't have to be that way. The president has the authority to fire anybody. If, first of all, the first thing that Donald Trump should have done, and Republicans don't do because the Democrats encourage them or threaten them not to, is clean house. President Bush did this once before. He comes into office, and President Bush goes ahead and fired all the attorneys general, the federal attorneys general, or not attorneys general, but federal attorneys around the country. And he fired them all to replace them with his own, instead of having the leftover Clinton ones. And he got a lot of criticism for that. The media came out and said, "Oh, how dare you? That's absolutely ridiculous. You can't do that. What are you hiding?" or whatever. And the effort was to put a psychological pressure on Mr. Bush not to change the attorneys, the federal attorneys. And much to Mr. Bush's credit, he didn't allow himself to be pressured or bullied. He went ahead and made that change anyhow. That's what President Trump should have done. Come into office, you fire everybody that was with the previous administration. Get rid of them. Because as we have found out, they are not trustworthy. They're completely untrustworthy. So you get rid of them. You put in your own people ostensibly that you can trust. So that was mistake number one. Number two is when Jeff Sessions decides to recuse himself, cut him loose. Fire the guy. You've only been in office for a month. Fire him. If somebody goes ahead and puts in some special prosecutor, you fire the special prosecutor and you fire the person that appointed him. Okay, then you can come out, and as a matter of fact, if Donald Trump really had some super guts, he would come out and hold a press conference and say, "I just fired them. We're not going to have an investigation of anything because there's nothing to investigate. And I'm just brand new in this office, and what the Democrats are trying to do is reverse the election, and I'm not going to put up with it. And I dare you, if you think that you can impeach me over this, I dare you." Okay, that's what Donald Trump should have done right away. Get it over with. If the people think that they're going to go ahead and impeach him over something like that, go ahead and knock yourself out. Have fun with it. And he could have saved himself and the country lots of money, lots of time, lots of energy, and lots of psychological abuse. So ultimately, this belongs at Donald Trump's footsteps. And a lot of the things that go on in this country, although we want to blame the left, because the left wants certain changes, you really have to look at conservatives. How many conservatives voted for a particular piece of legislation? How many conservatives that made mistakes and didn't do things that allowed themselves, in essence, to be manipulated, bullied, or intimidated, and leave the country with laws or cultural traditions, cultural habits that are left-leaning and no good for the country. So that at this time, that brings us to the conclusion of another episode of The Drill. And until next time, thank you very much for joining me, and have a great day.